Hello, goddesses. I hope you are well and that you are staying warm in this wintry weather and also staying safe in this wintry weather. Um, and how are you staying in flow with the current apparent retrograde motion of Mercury? I'm quite enjoying it this time. I've kind of lost all fear about it since I understood kind of this is just a change in the orbital paths of planets and where they align with one another, and that actually the fact that it looks like Mercury is going backwards even though it isn't, which is why it's the apparent retrograde motion and not actual retrograde motion, it's kind of like, oh, maybe this is just telling people of Earth to slow down. I'm really into that. And maybe as well because it is the autumn winter season, I'm happy to slow down in this season. So I've been able to laugh at all the things that have been happening. As you know, my TV went askew, lost a couple of channels, they came back the next day, had difficulty paying money into the bank because the machine wasn't working. There've been quite a few things that have been going on. But what I love most about it is it's making me incredibly mindful and in flow and consciously aware as well as intuitively aware. So I'm not a crazy driver, but I have been driving with much more awareness. You know, sometimes when you drive or if you're doing something and you get into the zone, you tune out to lots of things that are going on. I've been much more aware of what I'm doing, of what's happening, taking it steady, and it's working well for me. Now, before I get into the new moon reading, I want to share something with you that I did quite some time ago. And if it's something that you'd like to do, feel free to do it. And we may loop back to this at the development circle in December. Some time ago, years ago, I realised that the cycles of the moon but the cycles of the moon meant my body did different things at different times. I'm talking more than periods. So I think women, we intuitively know, even though the scientific reports don't necessarily prove it, that, you know, our periods and our menstrual system and our reproductive system does flow with the moons, the tides of the moons is very connected. But what I realised was my fingernails grow and then they split and then they grow again. And what I realised kind of by accident was that happens with the moon cycles. So we're coming up to the moon cycle now. They've got some reasonable growth on them, and I can tell you that in a couple of days they will start to split. And it's like they're self-regulating. It's like, okay, we've grown to this level now. This is the level as far as we go. We need to cut off the dead nail now, get rid of the dead nail now, and start growing again. And to make sure that I intuitively knew this was right, I wrote down for a little while what was happening and when. And then that made me think about other things going on in my life, and it made me think about my thought patterns, my feelings, and did they go in cycles as well? And they do. So if you want to, for December, you could do that as well. And I've just got a piece of paper here. I'm going to try and remember to do it alongside you. And I've got 4 things written down. And the first one is emotional response, which is from the heart. Physical response from the body is the second. Intellectual response from mind is the third. An intuitive response is the fourth, and that's about the soul. So you don't have to turn it into a whole spreadsheet Gantt chart exercise. You can do it quite simple on a piece of paper, or if you journal, it's one of the things you can do in your journal. And you don't have to do it every day, but every 2 to 3 days for the month of December, so from the 1st of December, the new moon, till we get to the end of December, when we're ready for the next new moon, maybe just jot down what's going on in your emotional responses in your heart. So emotional responses are things like anger, worry, fear, you know, all those things that create an emotional reaction in you. And the physical response about your body. Do you feel tired? Do you have aches and pains? Do you feel you want to sleep more? Are you waking up later? Are you staying in bed longer? It's just noticing the physical things that are happening to you. And the intellectual response is about the mind, and that's about dominant thoughts. What are you thinking? Are you thinking, this person doesn't like me, I've got to behave differently? Are you thinking, oh, there's a lot going on in the world, it's quite overwhelming? Are you thinking, do you know what, life's pretty good at the moment, I'm quite happy? So it's those thoughts, and it's noticing not all your thoughts, because that would be a miserable exercise to do, but predominant thoughts that you're feeling over a period of days. So if you pause every 2 to 3 days and reflect back, what have been my most dominant thoughts, that's what you want to try and capture. And then the fourth, the intuitive response, is about the soul. And what does that mean? That's about your intuitive self. That's about the knowing, the decisions and the choices we make, and we do it intuitively. So we're not doing it from conscious mind and creating pros and cons lists. It's all those things that you just know, without knowing how you know, without knowing why you know or how you know. So if you'd like to do that for the next month, and as I said, I will do my best to remember to go along and do it with you. We can review at probably the development circle in January how that was for you. And it may give you some insights as to how intuitive you are being, and also what cycles your body is going through. So I'll leave that with you. I hope you do it. It doesn't, as I said, I don't want you to make it a big deal. It's not something you have to do every day. Every 2 to 3 days is good enough, if you can. And just see where it is. And I'll write those responses down somewhere so you can all access them and keep them. In fact, I might do a little template for you that you can just copy into a journal or use as a Word document. So that's the first part of this. I'm going to move on now and do the oracle reading for the new moon for 1st of December 2024. Hello goddesses, here we are for the oracle reading for the new moon 1st of December. When I tuned in, as I already said in the first part, the planetary alignments at the moment and the better understanding we have about Mercury, and it's not going backwards, it just apparently looks backwards because of where the planets are aligned at the moment, is giving me this sense of, as I said, slow, steady, be mindful and pay more attention, and know that things may not work out, and just allow yourself to go with the flow. I tuned in to see which oracle messages or see which oracle decks were going to be useful for us. And one I haven't used for a while is Oracle of the Seven Energies by Colette Baron Reid. I'll be reading from this. One that I've used in the past few readings, Energy and Spirit Oracle by Sandra Ann Taylor. And the third one I was really drawn to, is the Quantum Oracle, again by Sandra Ann Taylor. Now, I've started with the Quantum Oracle, and I asked for 3 messages that could help us with guidance and lessons and answers for what's happening on planet Earth at this time. And I've already selected them. I started recording, we had a barking episode and I had to stop and start again. But when I came to the 3rd message, there were 2 messages that came out, so I currently have 4, and there is going to be a 5th. I'm going to tell you what the 4 are, then I'll come back, describe and interpret. The first one we have is Dark Thoughts. The second is Teacher. The third is Behind a Mask. And the 4th is Decrease. So let's start with Dark Thoughts. And we have an image of a maze, but it's a concrete maze, and it's quite high, and there is an image of what looks like a potentially Victorian or Edwardian man with a long tailcoat, a top hat and a cane, and we see the back of him and he's dressed in black and he's walking towards the entrance of the maze. But in front of him we can see a wall in the maze and there's a dark shadow on there. It's his shadow, and the shadow looks very, very long. And above the maze, there is a very stormy cloud and potentially kind of some lightning that's coming down from there. So before you think, oh, that doesn't sound like me at the moment, that's fine, because this isn't about our dark thoughts. It's about the dark thoughts that are around us. And it's what we're subject to. So this is a very good reminder of how much darkness we are surrounded by and how much energy it takes for us to lift ourselves out of that, or to reject it or push it away. And we will have the energy to do that this moon cycle. And the energy is going to increase to allow us to do that. Now, it's also a pause to stop and say to yourself, where are the dark thoughts coming from that are coming into my space, into my dance space? So I like the idea of the dance space. If you put your arms in front of you and touch your fingertips together, what's in front of you is your dance space, as Patrick Swayze said in Dirty Dancing. But it's a very important space because it's very close to you, it's very close to the chest and the heart area. So we have to be very mindful of what we allow in there. So what thoughts are coming in through all your senses? Are you taking in too much social media? Are you taking in too much television, too much news? Are you watching programs that are dark, like dramas and murder mysteries? And there's nothing wrong with all of those. But as you're watching them and feeling what's going on, you're creating those feelings in real time in the real world, even though it may be an imaginary story or it may be people acting it. It may be people around you who are telling you their dark thoughts, who are constant complaining and very negative. So this is about paying attention to the dark thoughts of others and the dark thoughts in the universe that might try and get hold of you inside, and to be strong enough to say, I blow them away. You see my hand is pushing them away. Those are not my thoughts. I don't have them. I'm going to stay in flow, and I'm just going to have a drink. The second message is teacher. And again, it's kind of people in old-fashioned costumes with big, heavy, thick books on a very low table and an old-fashioned typewriter that you would type on and then, get the lever at the end and push it across to get to a new line. There's a woman who is sat down with a book open on her knee. She has long brown hair and a beautiful blue flowing dress. So blue there representing the throat chakra. So she's learning something in order to be able to vocalize and speak something that she needs to speak, that she needs to say her truth. She knows what her truth is, but she's learning how to vocalize it. She's looking at the book. There's a man stood at her side, wearing dark trousers, a white shirt, and kind of almost like a Nehru jacket, those Indian jackets with the short stand-up collars. But it doesn't look Indian. It's kind of a green turquoise colour, and he's got a very high collar on his shirt as well. And he's got long hair and a beard, and he's looking out straight at us. Now, you might look at this and think he's the teacher, but actually, it's the other way around in this instance and in this moment. She's the teacher. She's opened the book, and the book's open, and from the book, there's all these little lights and sparks coming out of it that's glowing onto her face. She is the teacher, he is the student. He's looking straight ahead because he's not yet committed to this teaching, though he knows he needs it from this teacher. So this is about us as a teacher, and not a teacher in a school or formally teaching anybody. It's about the nurturing mother aspect of being a teacher, of helping those around you. So although it says teacher, it's really about nurturing, and it's about leading people to the information and guidance that they need. So maybe someone around you who needs some guidance that's more intuitive than informational. Maybe it's someone around you who is keen to listen to what you have to say about intuition and being soulful and spiritual, but they're a little bit frightened of it and not yet committed to it. So this is about you as a teacher from that maternal, nourishing perspective. And then we have behind a mask. Now, this is interesting because I think this is about us. So we have a woman who's wearing a mask over her eyes, kind of like those Venetian style masks. She has long brown hair, curly hair, and she's wearing that kind of all draped around her right shoulder. She's wearing a brownish dress that is exposing her left shoulder. So her left shoulder's a little bit exposed, and her brown hair is all draped over her right shoulder. Her left hand is on her hip, and her right hand is bent, so her right hand is touching her left hand that's on her hip. And the colours we have in here, her dress is kind of brownish, but it fades into a yellow on the sleeve. And there's light in the background, and there's images of lights of all different sizes in the background. Little spotlights and specks of light, and it's behind a mask. So as we're in this time of steady reflection with the planets and also winter because it's a soulful time, it's about asking ourselves, what masks are we hiding behind? And maybe you think you're not hiding behind a mask, and that's okay, maybe that's the answer. And it definitely feels like we're being asked this question, not to trip us up, but for us to realise, actually, how far we have come that we're not living behind a mask anymore. So I've said to you many times before about I was in the oracle closet for a long time. I didn't talk about this stuff really to many people. I kept it to myself. It was very private. I didn't want people to know about this. And I was behind that mask for a long time, if you like. And that wasn't a bad thing. I was behind that mask because I had to have time to get used to that the universe wanted me to make this kind of like a purpose and a work and a profession and a career. And I had to be behind that mask to allow myself the time to do that. Am I hiding behind any masks anymore? Well, maybe I am. It's something for me to go and reflect, but there's a lot of masks that have slipped from me. So this is a reminder to us of how far we have come. How many masks have slipped from you? Are you prepared to be more vulnerable with the people closest to you? Are you telling more people about, yep, I'm developing my intuition, I'm living an intuitive, soulful life, this is what I'm practicing now? Or maybe it's a different kind of mask that you've dropped. So this is a celebration of the mask that we have dropped. So are you still hiding behind any masks? And if you are, that's okay, because there may be a reason for it. So explore what that reason is. And if you're thinking, well, I can't think of anything at the moment, then celebration times, because masks are slipping away. And sometimes they slip away and we don't even notice it. And that's why we need to check in and ask that question every now and then. And then the next message was decrease. And it's kind of almost like a photograph is this image, this digital image. And we can see bare earth, kind of like maybe from a farmland where the earth has been kind of ploughed and dug up. And just above the earth, there is a left hand, and going through, and it's slightly cupped, and going through that left hand, water is pouring through onto the ground and making a small puddle. So it's about things. It's about things slipping through our fingers. And as I said that, I went, oh, the card slipped through my fingers, and I just had to catch it before it fell on the floor. So wow, what a piece of synchronicity that is. So this is about what is slipping through your hands as opposed to decrease. What do you feel is slipping away from you at this time? And this may come back to some of the masks. It may come back to some of the old conditioning that you're feeling. But this to me does not feel like a financial thing, although this message can often indicate that. This does not feel monetary based on the previous messages. This feels, do you think control of your life is slipping through your fingers? Because that can happen when you become more intuitive and go with the flow. You feel like, oh my God, I don't control anything. Is it a friendship that's slipping through your fingers? I can't think of any other examples, so I'll just leave that with you. So when something slips through your fingers, it's like something is getting away from you. It's a decrease in something. So if you have a decrease in the control of what's going on in your life, a decrease of, influence to, change a friendship, that's okay. Sometimes things need to slip through our fingers because they're no longer needed. And sometimes a decrease is needed to create the space you need to fill that space with the nourishing things that you deserve and need. I think I've told you about when Julie told me about my wealth corner, and I cleaned it all up and took everything out, and all my bank accounts just went down to zero. Everything just went down, 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 down. It was just absolutely quite incredible. They're not like that anymore, but that needed to happen in order to let go of the old, to bring in the new and the nourishing, and to put things in that corner that are nourished. So there's a beautiful plant there that Julie actually bought me for my birthday in a purple pot holder, and that sits in the corner of that wealth corner now. So we shouldn't be concerned if things are slipping away. We should pay attention to it, grieve the loss if you need to, but know there'll be something else in return. And I'm going to choose another message from the quantum now, because I don't like to end on a message like that. So one more message please, universe. Marvellous. And then we get milestone. And what we have in this image is we have a table that's kind of got ornate decoration on the sides, and there is a big silver cup like a trophy on top of the table, and it's glinting a star. This light is glinting off it to show something really lovely. So the trophy itself has got quite a big stand and then a thin piece before the cup, and it's got two handles on either side, two very ornate handles on either side, which are like curved shapes. And it kind of looks like, in the background, it could be almost like a venue for a wedding. There are flowers hung up, there are balloons, there's drapes of cloth, there's bunting, so it's clearly a celebration of some kind. And there are flowers, bouquets of flowers, round bouquets and posies of flowers, look like the kind of thing you would have at a wedding. And behind the table with the trophy on, there's another table. So the table with the trophy on looks like it could be made of steel or metal, and the table behind it looks more like wood, and that's painted, and that has some ornate decoration on it as well. And on there we can see two mixed bouquets of flowers. So we have one bouquet of flowers to the left of the trophy that look like white roses, which is Yorkshire, just saying. And then on the wooden table behind it there are two bouquets of flowers, one on the left, one on the right, and mixed flowers of mixed colours, so generally whites and pinks and creams. And on that table it looks like there's a couple of little bottles of lotions and potions, and then there's a thin vase with one bloom in, and above it there is an oval shaped mirror, again with ornate metal decoration around it. Milestone. So the milestone could be like a celebration of a wedding or an anniversary. It could be a trophy for something achieved. It could be a bunch of flowers given from someone in recognition of thanks. But all of these things that we've just discussed in this reading lead up to this milestone. We recognise the dark thoughts that are not ours. That is a milestone and a big achievement. We start teaching naturally through the nurturing we have within us to teach people in a very informal, non-committal way about intuition, and to leave their dark thoughts behind and to come over to the light side. We have the celebration of all the masks that we've let slip, and the celebration of the awareness that we know what masks we might still be wearing. And then we have the decrease, the understanding of what's slipping through our fingers. But as I said, that's nothing to be fearful for, because all of these things are milestones in our intuitive and spiritual journey. Milestones in our intuitive journey, and we should be celebrating all of them. And because we're in that slower time, this is the time to do that. This is going to be a long reading, so I hope you're sticking with me. If you need to stop the video and pause, do. So that's the Quantum Oracle. I'm going to do 2 messages from Energy and Spirit, and then 2 messages from Oracle of the Energies. So Energy and Spirit, Oracle, here we go. 2 messages from energy and spirit. Oh, we've had both of these before. So I'll tell you what they are then. I'll do the description and interpretation. We have talent guides and the word spirit mentors and teachers. So we've got a teaching theme here. And then we have sensitivity and strength, tapping the forces within. I think we've had that one before. So the talent guides, we have an image of a man wearing what could be kind of like doctor's garb. So he's got a white V-neck, possibly t-shirt, and he's got a white jacket over it. So just thinking about, you know, people in surgical situations who wear white coats, although I'm not sure doctors do that anymore. It's that kind of thing. He's got a very smiley face. He's looking straight ahead, very smiley, very warmth, brown eyes, brown beard, brown hair. And around him we have a microscope. We have a shovel or a trowel. We have an artist palette and paintbrush. We have a keyboard. We have a bottle of ink and a feather, an abacus, something that looks like a spoon or a ladle, and we have a lute, and something that I don't really recognise that could be a loudspeaker or a megaphone. So spirit mentors and teachers ties back into the teach that we had, the teach message from the previous Quantum Oracle. So this is very much around, this feels like something about learning something just for the fun of it. You know, the music, the painting, the abacus, the ladle, the megaphone, the trowel, the lute, and the feather and ink bottle. It just feels like learning something just for the sheer joy of learning it, just because it's something you want to do. And in this quieter, more soulful time, what is it you want to do? So I've, funnily enough, the past few days I've been thinking, I want to paint mandalas. And I've ordered some kind of templates and bits to help me do that. And I've drawn around a play and I'm creating little patterns that I'm going to paint in. Just for the sheer joy of it. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But just for the sheer joy of it, I'm just really called to create some mandalas at the moment. And maybe it's to learn an instrument, maybe it's actually just to listen to music, maybe this is a reminder as well, just to do the things that you enjoy. So talent guides, spirit mentors and teachers, and maybe there's a loved one you have who's passed in the spirit world, who had a passion for one of these things. And maybe it's been passed down to you. And then the seventh, sensitivity and strength, we have a woodland scene, we have a wooden stump, a tree that's been cut down, there's some fungi growing out of it, and the tree stump is different shades of brown, and around it is greenery and trees, but it looks like it's in an arch. It's kind of grown over, so the arch is presenting the tree stump, and on top of it is an anvil, an iron anvil, heavy and solid, and above the anvil is a feather floating down. And it says, tapping the forces within. So which do you think is the strongest, the feather or an anvil? We know that an anvil would be heavier than a feather, but it's back to the old question of what's heavier, a ton of feathers or a ton of anvils? And the answer is, well, they're both the same. But our mind gets confused, doesn't it? So is an anvil strong? Yes, but it's strong for really only one purpose, whereas the feather has a different kind of strength because it can move around, it can float, it can go from space to space and place to place. But the anvil is stuck in one place. So, are you stuck in one place? Either physically or in your head? Is there a space in your head that's been thinking the same thoughts for a long time that you know now needs to slip through your hands, as we saw in the previous messages? So tapping the forces within should be a gentle process like the feather. And it's about the balance of softness and strength. They coexist together. Sensitivity and strength, it's not about one or the other, it's about both together. And that nurturing as a teacher, as a talent guide, as a mentor, as someone helping people in the world, we have those two things together. We can be sensitive, but that doesn't mean people can walk all over us, because we have the strength to turn those dark thoughts away from us and to put our own thresholds and boundaries in place. So that's great. And I'm going to finish with Oracle of the Seven Energies for guidance on what the planet Mercury and its space in the world would like to tell us right now. And again, two messages. Oh, so I'll tell you what the two messages are, then we'll do the interpretation and description. We have the Uncharted Sea and Earth Magic. How lovely is that? So the Uncharted Sea, we have an image of the ocean, and there's waves drawn into the ocean, and kind of underneath the ocean we can see a compass for northeast, south and west, and there are two circles within the compass, and it has kind of the North Star. So it's not just the 4 points, it's shown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's shown 8 points. So north, northeast, east, southeast, southwest, west and northwest. And above the sea there is this beautiful boat, a wooden boat that's got like a stork or a heron at the front that's looking out, and the sail of the boat is like curved like a crescent moon or a banana, and hanging at the top of the boat is a lantern. There is a paddle on the boat, but the bird's not interested in paddling, it's just looking out and looking ahead at where we're going. So if you feel like you're in uncharted times because the masks are slipping, because you're being more vulnerable with the people closest to you, because you're saying no to the dark thoughts and having to make decisions and choices about who you interact with, when you interact with them and how much time, and how to protect your own intuition and your own soul, this is letting us know it's okay. It might be an uncharted sea. There may be something new you're doing in life and related to work or hobbies, or something just different going on, a situation in your life that is not of your making but that's landed in your lap or on your doorstep. It's the uncharted sea. But what do we know about the uncharted sea? That it brings earth magic. So the uncharted sea, followed by earth magic, is telling us this is not anything we need to worry about. And there's something about the sea as well, isn't there, about staying in flow, going with the waves. You go up with the waves and down with the waves, up with the waves and down with the waves. That's what flow is. Flow isn't one straight line. And earth magic is a beautiful image. So the bottom half of the image it's like an intersection of earth. And in the earth are all these stars shining brightly. And it's really beautiful. The way the colours pop with these kind of little 5-pointed star shapes is lovely. And on top of that earth there are a pair of feet, and if I can get this the right way around, it's the left foot on its tiptoes, the heel is up, and the right foot is crossed over, so it's appearing on the other side, and that's on its toes as well, like a ballerina would be on point. And from the bottom part of the image of the earth, there's this ribbon of bright light that's coming up through the earth, up towards the feet and wrapping around the legs, so we can see just below the knees of legs, and wrapping around the legs for earth magic. So Mercury is telling us, go with the flow, and that there is a lot of magic here still on earth, and about being grounded during this time of the apparent retrograde motion. Go with the flow and keep yourself grounded. The earth magic, this new moon, is keeping yourself grounded. Literally both feet on the floor. I'm doing it now, I have my feet crossed. I'm putting both feet flat on the floor. And if you can, if you have a garden or somewhere safe that you can go, get your bare feet on the earth where it's safe, and do that. But do more exercises to get yourself grounded. And the first video, when I talked about the journaling of the cycles for the month, that might be something you can do as part of that as well to ground yourself. There we have it. I think that's probably one of the longest readings we've ever had. I hope you've made it through. If you've got any questions, as always, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon for the full moon and the development circle. But we'll be in touch before then. Take care. Bye.